I was a normal child, but normal is relative, so who am I to make that call? What I should say is that I grew up how you would expect a kid to grow up. My parents treated me properly, I did great in school, and I had many friends. It wasn't until high school that I started feeling the need to kill. It was all so spontaneous. I was just sitting in class one day, staring at one of the students, when the image of him dying popped into my head. I zoned out and focused on the image. His body lying in a pool of blood, leaking from his head. His arms were snapped behind his back and his feet were missing the big toes. A few weeks later, that daydream became a reality, and I got away with it. Everyone in the school was whispering rumors to one another as I walked into class. Some were saying that he joined the army. Others were convinced that he just moved just like how so many other kids did before him. I was the only one who knew the truth, and I had to hide my devilish grin from the rest of the school. It was my only murder in high school, but it ignited a flame. When I reached adulthood, I landed a successful job and had plenty of money to obtain the tools I had always dreamed of using on my victims. That's when I began to develop a signature style. I would always sever the big toes, but I no longer snapped the arms behind the back. Honestly, the sound of the bones breaking didn't sit well with me. Every day, I would watch the news, expecting to see one of the victims had been found, but they never were. Years went by, and I targeted another 12 victims. They were no one in particular, women, teenagers. It didn't really matter to me. A dead body is a dead body in my eyes. I don't care who it belongs to. Very few of them would put up a fight, and that was fine with me. I wasn't trying to drag out the last moments of their lives. I just wanted them to die. I wanted to savor the warmth of their blood on my hands as I slit their throat. About a week after I killed my final victim, I met a guy that I ended up falling in love with. He doesn't realize how close he was to becoming just another undiscovered body. He doesn't want to have kids, which was fine with me because I never really saw myself as a mother. Neither of us believe in God, so we saw no point in getting married. I was okay with this as well. I felt like my life was finally going to be normal again. After we had been together for a few years, I decided to tell him about my past. I made a special dinner for him to lighten the mood. However, when I told him, he just laughed and thought that I was being ridiculous. It turned into him treating it into some type of role-playing fantasy that I had, and he ignored me as I told him it was the truth. I didn't know how to prove it to him, so I killed someone in front of him. One night, I brought him with me on what he thought was a date. When we got to the spot, I opened the trunk so he could see my victim. He still thought it was a joke and asked me how I got my friend to agree with this. I think he finally understood that it was no joke as I sliced the man's throat. His face turned pale and he reached into his pocket to get his phone. I was prepared for this though, so I knocked him unconscious. After I finished with my signature killing pattern, I drove back to the house. My secret was not safe with him, but I loved him too much to kill him. Right now, he's kept in my basement. I don't treat him like a prisoner, mind you. He has everything he could ever want. I'm hoping in time I can start leaving him untied at night, so he'll quit trying to escape. I know, one day, he'll accept me for who I am. Maybe one day he'll help me fulfill my new fantasy of killing together. Or perhaps you guys won't believe me. Or you'll just brush this off as just another made-up story. But that's the funny thing about being a killer.